At its time, the fucking epicenter for black culture, not only in the Bay Area, but California as a whole. That goddamn Harlem of the West shit that they used to attribute to Fillmore, they wasn't just saying that because it sounded good on the flyer. They weren't just saying that because Louis Armstrong brought his ass to Bop City back in the day. They wasn't just saying that because Billie Holiday brought her fine ass to New Orleans Queen Club back in the day. They wasn't saying that just because the Black Panthers headquarters used to be on 1336 Fillmore Street. Yes, look it up. You gotta show love. You gotta show love to Fillmore. You gotta show love to Mo. You're gonna talk about the contributions that the Bay has given to black culture. You gotta bring it to Fillmore. Today we're gonna give y'all your flowers. We're gonna show love to Fillmore. The full length video, my full 20-minute deep dive on this will be on Patreon as always. Subscribe. But anyway, I used to work in the Fillmore. I used to work in the Mo, doing security. Yeah, the worst job to do there. I know when you think of the Fillmore, you think of that region, you're thinking about the crime shit, the bipping, people getting robbed at gunpoint, the funk in between it. And I ain't gonna hold you, yo. As a man who spent his teenage years in Alabama, particularly Atlanta Metro, to come here and see that y'all on that zone 6, zone banging zone shit, that blew my mind. I ain't disrespect, but that just, I've never seen that. I've never seen that west of the Mississippi River zone banging, but we can skip that. So, let's go back. Let's go back. Because if we're going to talk about the history of Fillmore, we have to go way back in the time, to the 19th century, dare I say, 1880 specifically. Even back then, San Francisco was too fucking crowded. Even when you go back to the days of just maybe 2 decades post-slavery, it was always too fucking crowded. And when you go back to the 1880s to the 1890s, this is when you're starting to see a lot more immigrant groups, particularly, the undesirables, Jewish people coming here. But the African Americans, we ain't coming there in the waves yet. We're going to get to that a little bit later. You're starting to see all of us come there, right? This led to, quote unquote, the expansion to the western side of the city. A lot of y'all don't know that back in the day, when you say Western Addition, a lot of people, when I say Western Addition, you think of a particular part of Fillmore. Back in the day, that was referring to, quote unquote, the western expansion all west of Larkin Street. Western Addition actually used to refer to what is basically modern day Japantown, Lower Pacific Heights, that whole region. The core of that was called the Fillmore. Even back then it was called the Fillmore. But the core of that was called the Fillmore. As time goes on, you start seeing different more migrant groups have enclaves there. At a certain point, a lot of y'all don't know, back in the early 1900s, technically speaking, the core part of Western Addition where Fillmore was at, that actually used to be referred to more as a Jewish neighborhood.